Hola community, it's Pablo Vazquez with another episode of Blender Today / Every Day. These meetings we have to think of something else, think of something nice and fun. Today it's the modeling special / hard surface / robots / glitches maybe / mech / anything really. We have 3 guests from 3 different countries / continents. We have people from all over, and I'm really happy to start with a bang. We're gonna start with the one I have closest, I think, right? Like here in Poland, I mean the Netherlands, but all the way to Poland, we have our first guest is Gleb Alexandrov. Hello.
Hey, Pablo. Yeah, it's pretty close. Poland.
Pretty close, next door.
Yeah, but actually, yeah, I told you I'm somewhere in between Poland and Belarus because
I can't tell.
yeah. The border is closed right now, so my parents and relatives can't get in, and I can't get out. So yeah, it's this shaky situation. But anyway, I think we all agree that this Corona stuff could be a nice opportunity to like learn new things while we sit at home here and don't know what exactly should we do next. Then probably we should do some more 3D and Blender and all that stuff.
Or 2D. Yesterday we had an NPR show and it was like...
Or even 2.5D.
Or 4D.
Or 4D.
All...
We have 4-dimensional noises in Blender.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Thank you, Gleb. Nice to see you. We're gonna jump to we're gonna jump a little jump first before the big one. The little jump is over to the UK. We're gonna have our next guest is Aidy Burrows.
Hello there. Hi.
Hi. How are ya?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, I've not been too locked away like Gleb was just saying there in Poland. Can't get in, can't get out. But we're still restricted. I mean, everybody is really, aren't we?
Yeah.
Hence coming and doing this. But yeah, thanks for inviting us on. And yeah, it's only a little hot across the pond, but you know, it's still exciting for me.
It is really. It's just crazy times. It's good that we all get together. We all get to see how everybody is doing. It's nice to see that everybody is doing just fine. You also work from home, right? Just like Gleb?
Yes.
So
yeah.
nothing really changed that much except going to the park.
Exactly. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So in that note, we're gonna jump again, but this time is a big jump all the way to America, the continent and the country. United States, from Texas, Dallas. We have Rachel. Hello.
Hi. How are you doing?
How? It's actually the first time we get to talk with Gleb and Aidy. I met them at the conference some years ago, but this time is actually the first time. So I'm very happy that you wanted to join, that we get to see some of your work. We already seen your work posted on online, some robots, some tutorials even. Really, are you like jumping into that tutorial?
Yeah, I've made one so far, but I want to make some more.
Nice.
Yeah.
I saw it. It's the one at the box cutter. Yes. Yeah. So nice. Super nice space and nice. If you haven't seen it and you wanna, actually, I never use a box cutter. I don't even have the add-on, but it now actually makes me want to see it. It's very intuitive apparently, and you made it. You explained it really nice, very well. So actually, it's here on your. You can find it on your Twitter. By the way, all the social media. It's on the description if you guys wanna see it. Join. But yeah, you're also working now with a robotic arm app on Gumroad. You can download it for free. So it's a robotic arm. Is it rigged? Is it?
No, I don't know how to rig very well. But if someone wants to rig it, that would be amazing.
Oh well, I know some creative shrimps that are working on rigging tutorials also, right? I think. Yeah. Right? There's a.
Yeah, actually, you're correct. Jana Landry is now working on the new rigging course, which is like extension of the hard surface modeling course that we released some time ago. So that is super exciting. Just what we saw so far, it's like so encouraging.
Yeah.
Jana is a god of rigging, you will be totally amazed by the result. And I wonder, have you seen some work in progress stuff that he is posting on his Twitter? Because it's pretty mind-boggling already. The leg automation and that sort of rigging madness that we practically know nothing about here at Creative Shrimp, but
in the world
fills that gap very nicely between modeling, between the stuff that, for example, Rachel does. Obviously, all that amazing robots on Rachel's Twitter and stuff like that would greatly benefit from rigging, from animation. That's sort of natural extension, right? So that's another thing that excites me very much,
because rigging is
stuff could be rigged in Blender.
And rigging is really a monster. It's an area that no one, if you look for like how modeling, that's the most popular, sculpting, shading, anything really. But if you look for rigging tutorials in Blender, I think you find like 5.
Exactly, you're right. You look for rigging, you find 5. You look for animation, you find 1, and that's Hjalti basically. So
that's the one. Is Hjalti every year giving us at the Blender conference. But is animation something that you guys would like to do next for tackling? I mean, if you do rigging, you have to do animation, I guess.
Yeah, at some point maybe. That's really far-fetching. So let's first start with rigging and see what comes out of it. I think probably one of the next big things will be somehow related to animating this stuff in one way or the other. Maybe it's going to be VFX of some kind.
But we get a lot of requests for, in terms of like finishing off the hard surface stuff with materials and textures. When some people saw the rigging stuff coming out, that was what our next intention was. People were like, what about the materials? That's like a next, logical step to it. But animation, I'm not sure we claim to be particularly, you want someone like Hjalti to do that. You know what I mean? You want to bring in the top, the big guns. But I think I know that Jeannot has seen Rachel's stuff, which was just recently posted, and because I'm pretty sure he retweeted it. So with that hand, and I know what he's like. I'm sure he'll be like really enthused to just do that hand. He'll probably rig it up, and he's pretty good at animating as well, actually. So we'll see. There could be some opportunity there, or we'll just see how it goes. We pretty much, like Gleb's just said there, we go sort of quite. We don't sort of far reach, we're not looking too far ahead. We just kind of go in a little bit by, what we take the feedback of what people tell us basically, and we just go from there. So for example, people like, do more hard surface stuff, and seeing Rachel's stuff, it's like, we've got to get some more stuff like that out there. And if we can help, people getting their tutorials out there, then that's sort of part of what we wanted to do as well. So it kind of all made sense like that. But we're willing to take requests, or we don't know what we're doing.
Don't say that. You're gonna get like boom, a shower. I was gonna show ArtStation, but it's currently down for maintenance. What a great timing. Okay, no, not anymore. Cool. Now it's back. I wanted to show your stuff, Rachel, because you're actually I already know what Gleb and what Aidy are doing, but on your side, you're more into like the modeling, hard surface. Do you work do you work from home? Do you work on a studio? Do you do what do you do?
I work full-time from home. But I also do some freelancing. My main job is doing product modeling for an online store, but I like to make a lot of sci-fi stuff as well. That's where all the robots came from.
Nice, super good. So what is this tutorial you are gonna collaborate together? Is it also related to this kind of modeling, or this is? Can we actually, I don't know if it's announced. I just wanted to maybe
I don't think it's announced anywhere, but Gleb and Andy, they reached out to me to make a tutorial series about how to make like a sci-fi droid bot mecha thing, and so I'm working with them, and it's gonna be like the entire like creation and like my sort of workflow and how I make robots and stuff.
Everything from a box. Do you use the default cube or?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, I always use the default cube. Yeah.
Hey, here, some love for the default cube. So that is like the before, and actually you on your Twitter you had like a picture like some kind of this like before and after from the cube. Super nice. Awesome, cool. So let's have questions at the end or towards the second half of the show. By the way, in case you didn't know, this show is live and there is a thread on blender.community, on the Blender Today community, where you can ask your questions to these three masters here. Maybe if they're like Blender specific, like technical related, like when is this feature coming, save it for tomorrow. Tomorrow is a Q&A special of this Blender every day, so those I'm gonna keep doing, but let's keep the technical questions there. There are already some interesting questions here, like what's your startup Blender file looks like. That's a nice one, but let's not go there yet. Let's keep it for later. This one actually is pretty fun. I would like to see actually, what are you guys doing these days? I am, besides like the regular Blender stuff, do you work on personal stuff? You work completely full on like the like whatever you do for your day job? You have some time for free stuff?
Yeah,
Gleb,
we have plenty of time for stuff right now because we sit at home pretty much. Yeah, and strangely enough, it actually now we feel a little bit more active with production and development of our courses and stuff than before. I don't know what's the reason for that, but anyway, the thing that we're working on at the moment is this troubleshooting course. Modeling. Yeah, we call it like troubleshooting course because it's really what's the point of it? It's 50 modeling issues from hell.
Yes.
From beloved booleans plus subdivision surfaces that looks like pancakes and all kind of overshooting vertices after beveling stuff and flipped normals, Blender crashing on you suddenly, and that sort of stuff. Maybe I can show something if I find the share screen button. Here we go.
Yes.
Yeah, let me try it.
I'm sharing also the pure ref.
Yes. Very nice.
But so you know it better, so let's see.
So here are the thumbnails of the videos within. So pretty much it's a collection of quick tips for fixing various modeling issues, how to rotate topology by 90 degrees, how to cut panels, how to fix overshooting vertices. That's the thing that I enjoy very much. How to fix the floating point precision error. Have you ever stumbled across this glitch? Maybe I will be able to show it
actually,
in Blender right now.
Pretty cool.
That looks insanely cool. It is almost tempting to treat it as glitch art, So it's so far away into this art territory. So we are tempted to use it for its own tutorial or whatever. So, but it looks like this. I wonder if you are able to see this.
Yeah, the glitches. So, like I'm just thinking, how would I do it? Like, I don't know. With
how would you do that?
A mask? A texture on a mask?
No modifiers, no stuff. Pure Blender. And look at this. Even the relationships between objects in terms of depth are screwed in this.
That's great. So are you too far from the center of the world?
Exactly. And it's not immediately clear when, for example, you're importing some file from some resource and you get a similar looking result. What is going on here? And actually, this is very far away from the center of coordinates, like 8 billion kilometers or whatever. So things start to behave in a very, very strange way, almost as if it's some quantum effects.
It's
I
really
don't know.
weird. And this
Yeah.
error actually happens also in animation. So when you have a character that you rigged it in the center of the world and you move it, because it happens, and it happens even on
For example, have a look. This is no animation with no post-processing and stuff, but only relies on this floating.
Does it
point.
render that way as well?
Yeah, I have somewhere the render of this thing. I think it's magnificent. Like,
it's awesome. I mean, when they fix it, it's gonna be a pity.
Exactly. But the course itself is more about fixing this stuff rather than creating this stuff. We're just dragged to the dark side a little bit and overexcited about the possibilities that such glitches give us. I guess the actual thing will be more about fixing those issues rather than creating them. But yeah.
So like when you run into the issue, you know how to identify it.
Yeah, you don't simply
the symptoms.
run away screaming, and you know how to fix it.
Yeah.
So in some sense, we're like, I don't know, crash dummies of the Blender community. We're just searching deliberately for this kind of bugs, issues, most common ones, but actually some rare beasts as well. And we just show how to fix it all. I think that pretty much describes this new thing that we are working on. And yeah, this year is like year of collaborations for us. So we're simultaneously working on a bunch of new projects and collaborating with Rachel on the Sci-Fi Droid series, and also with Jenna Landry and with Luca Rood on the procedural shaders.
Developer. Yeah, for
Yes.
like developer working on Cloth that made the internal springs and.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that my Hangouts just crashed, and you have to confirm it. Because
No. We can still see you.
You still see me.
Yes.
All right. So it just crashed for me. It's all right, I guess.
So you can't share the screen anymore unless you join again.
Yes.
But for now, it's fine. So until then, let's continue. Just like nothing happened. We can see you and hear
Let's
you.
pretend that everything is just as we planned.
Everything is perfect. Everything is
Awesome.
Let's not tell people that we tried some other software and it failed. Coffee, of course. Grabbing coffee. Aidy, so Aidy, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Pablo.
I'm always curious to see, like, what's your side on, like, when you're making these trainings with Gleb? What's your side of things? So you prepare, you come up with the ideas, you prepare the models, you which
It goes back and forth. So, like, one of the first projects that we worked on was the Space VFX series, and so that was really, really useful because of the way that an individual chapter completely stood alone. But one of the ways that we might then take that further is, say, I'll work on a scene and then I'll throw that at Gleb. Gleb will sort of throw some suggestions and then throw it back, and then we'll start to go, oh, right, okay, we can take it this way. So there's a kind of an iterative process between working. And I think a lot of people who make tutorials tend to kind of, it's almost quite isolating. You can kind of find yourself just doing something on your own. I know the Flip Normals guys do things together often. I think they're quite a good example of another way in which the power of the community, the power of the crowd, the more the people you get involved in something like that, often you can reap rewards and benefits for everyone involved in that. Because when I'm almost all the time, when I'll do a tutorial, I'll listen to it, I'll watch it back, and I'll send it to Gleb, and he'll find a few things wrong with it. So it'll be like, right, okay. Now I'll go back and I'll reorganize it, and vice versa with Gleb. It's
Yeah.
it
It all boils down to my pronunciation errors and stuff like that.
But
Yeah.
that adds some charm to it, doesn't it?
Yeah, as soon as it's not too obscene, to be released in the actual production, then it becomes a little bit dangerous, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of those.
Mispronounce the word analog somehow or stuff like that. So,
that was flawless though. That was flawless. That's fine. Yeah,
Wow.
so that's kind of how we work. We go back and to a lot. But I mean, sometimes we'll do something where we will screen share, But a lot of it actually comes from the Blender conference as well. Like every time we're there, we get a really good chance to really get our heads together and come up with a lot of detailed ideas right then and there. So, I mean, that's pretty much why we're working together, is because when we met at the Blender conference like 5 or 6 years ago or whatever it was.
It's this creative ping pong sort of stuff. And we kind of work like this. We try to extend this style of communication to our future projects, so to speak, because we find it very effective and very loose and nice. I don't know.
How big is Creative Shrimp, by the way? As in, like now, for example, with Rachel or with Blender Pirate, or like how right at the moment, how many people are working for it?
We're really spreading our tentacles, you know. This year.
So it's not a shrimp, it's an octopus, creative octopus.
Yeah, the little shrimp became this sort of evil octopus.
Yeah. Hey, it's not evil. You share most of the content out, and you share all the techniques and stuff.
Yeah, you should look at the trend. So yeah, and we are very excited about our collaborations this year, because that's something that we haven't really done before in this manner, and so we're very interested to see what will come out of this.
Yeah, and to keep alive in this, there is a lot of competition in the Blender training nowadays, and it's like competition, competition, you know, like
it's like friendly competition.
But there's people that I've never heard of in my life, and they're making like full-on videos and training and stuff, and you see the comments on YouTube, and there's actually like a whole other community parallel to the Blender community that I know, and it's awesome to see how, you know, it just escapes from what we know.
Yeah, totally. There's quite a few. I mean, you can see just in the chat as well, like people requesting certain, you know, future guests, so that you don't run out while you're forced to stay indoors. So yeah, I think the more the merrier, actually. I mean, we've tried to help spread and share those channels out where we can, where we find of them anyway. Especially Gleb, because I mean, he's got a massive amount of followers on Twitter, and you know, in general, you know, sort of. I think
because of Blender, I guess it's just the trend that makes it.
Blender is hot these days, I guess.
yeah, it's booming.
Yeah, I think that's generally, you know, everybody's a bit like that, you know, be it, say, Jonathan Williamson or Andrew Price, you know, everybody's always been very happy to share a lot of people's work and get them better known and things like that. And whether it just be a sudden shift, like, for example, with Ian Hubert's 1-minute tutorials, you know, when they started to come out, it's like the way everybody jumped on them and sort of, we've got to share this out. This is great. You know,
the trend,
let's admit that lazy tutorials are just awesome.
I was so happy because and a lot of people probably don't even know that Ian has been around for like, he directed an open movie, and he's been around for like decades, and it's nice how the community evolves, and we have to evolve with it in a way.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, it was quite shocking that because I noticed for quite a while there was only a few hundred subscribers or something, and he'd shared a couple of those lazy tutorials, and it was like, wow, how come these aren't, you know, what's going on with these? And then then suddenly I think everyone had just shared at the same time, more or less.
Yeah, and his VFX tutorial, the motion tracking one that he shared a few days ago, is just magnificent.
Oh, yes.
From tracking to all the VFX stuff.
Yeah, for people that haven't seen it,
it's amazing.
If for people that haven't seen it, you should check it out. You're gonna literally learn how to track in like 7 minutes or so, whatever long is this video. It's just we might even have. I want to have him as a guest. I still have to ask him. It would be amazing if we can get him.
And incidentally, CG Matter also released tutorial on the channel called Default Cube. I guess it's also motion tracking.
On a channel called Default Cube. That one I don't know.
Cube. Yeah, it's 40 minutes tracking tutorial. So also very
intriguing. Really? No? Wow, nice. I know, I didn't know this. Like, you see, there are so many channels that I have never seen in my life, and I consider it to be rather up to date with what happens in the Blender world, but not anymore apparently. Like, That's amazing. So awesome. So nice to see this flourishing. All right. So we're almost reaching the half point of the show. I think we talk about what's coming up in Blender, what's new in Blender. I would like to go through the questions with a bit more time, because usually I never get to have enough time for this. And also a lot of people have been very hype about the questions. There's 34 already, so I think we can maybe connect some of the questions together with continue with the chatting on what you
sure
all doing. Rachel, you still there?
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah,
Cool.
I'm still here.
So yeah, this question for you first. What's your startup Blender file looks like? Did you make some changes to make your job easier? Sorry, the question from the start, or?
I think I just have the default Blender scene. I think like the only thing I changed about it was the measurement system. I changed it to Imperial, and then I saved it. But other than that, it's pretty much the same.
Any add-ons that you use?
Yeah, I use a ton of add-ons. Box cutter, hard ops, decal machine, all for hard surface. And I've been using Mesh Machine, which is an amazing add-on. And then I use a lot of other add-ons as well.
Right. Do you
too many.
I can imagine. I use none of them, and I see people using, and the sidebar gets very, very, very small. But I think box cutter, the one that you showed on your video, has it makes nice use of the tool system, and a proper use of the tool system, a lot of shortcuts and stuff. Although I think on the sidebar it was using for a list of shortcuts, and it kind of look weird because it's text. So I wonder if it's because the status bar is not, the API is not there for adding. So maybe we can have them as a guests, to have those guys there as a guest, just to talk about add-ons. That would be nice.
Have Master Xeon on. Yeah,
Master. Hey, if you're watching this, it's a formal invitation.
And he can bring his whole add-on team with him. Yeah.
Yes, I don't know how many they are actually, but it would be nice, and maybe all the box cutter and hard ops team as well. They are part of the Blender Development Fund on every level, super nice. All right, so okay, what's the second question for you also? Do you use the poor default cube? Yes, I know that answer.
Yes. I love the default cube.
Yes.
I wouldn't delete it.
So you actually use it?
Yeah.
And
every time, pretty much.
Is this tutorial that you're preparing gonna feature the default cube as a star?
Yes, probably, most likely. I don't think I would have a reason to delete it.
It. Nice, cool. All right. Do you struggle to take your projects from start to finish without jumping into the next thing?
What? Do I struggle?
Yeah, to get your project from start to finish, or like are you focused in like starting and finishing something from scratch, or you jump into other projects like
I think I'm pretty focused from start to finish, because if I start jumping between projects, I figured out that I have a hard time like finishing projects.
Yeah.
So I like to sit down and work all the way through as much as I can, because then I like set sort of a deadline for me to actually finish an artwork and not like jump around between stuff. So
yeah, I think that helps also to remember where were you, because if I think I open a blend file from 3 months ago, I would be like lost.
Oh yeah. That's definitely a feeling.
Yes. Use collections. Actually, there is a new but it's more for Python on the Blender channel, on this channel actually. If you got the notification for this live stream, there is a video uploaded a few hours ago about using Python for collections, for handling collections, which is part of a new series, by the way. It's a small plug that we're adding onto this channel. So what about the rest here? So for example, Aidy, do you start a project from and finish it, or you jump into other projects and get sidetracked?
Yeah, I'm pretty bad at this. I get sidetracked all the time. Yeah, it's lucky that I've got Gleb around actually to say focus. Just focus.
Just focus.
Yeah, I do exactly what you just described there, where you open up, and then when you do finally come around to the blend file to kind of see where you were again, like, oh yeah, where am I in this scene again? So it's really difficult to find out all of that, what you were actually doing on it. So yeah, no, that's such a bad habit, and it's really, I really want to kick it. I'm here now publicly to say I won't do that anymore.
Okay, Gleb, what about you?
What about me?
Yeah, so you start and finish?
That's a good question, because on one hand, you should probably do one thing to really have high chance of actually finishing it. I agree with Rachel here and with Aidy, but I'm that kind of person who also jumps from task to task. Some of those things actually end up pretty interesting, so that's not totally unproductive. Is there such word?
Yeah.
I think even now, when we are in the middle, or actually not in the middle, closer to the release of this thing, there is some interesting like component, for example, glitch art, as we have already noticed, that is asking to be turned into its own, I don't know, tutorial or some visual stuff. So that is an interesting aspect of procrastination, that you can accidentally stumble across
art,
very, very intriguing ideas that may help you to do stuff like as an artist.
I often visit, I'm actually subscribed to the glitch art subreddit. Super nice if you are into that and into glitch stuff that are not meant to happen. There is a full subreddit with super cool artwork.
So interesting. Data mosh, all that corruption of files, and that's
even with some of them use GIMP or Krita or Inkscape or like some open source tool via command line to like displace pixels, and such a completely different world. So
I see.
What about your startup file? You make tutorials, so I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we have the most default startup files.
Yes.
You can imagine, because we do tutorials, that we need to keep it pretty much at its default state.
Yeah.
Not confuse people. What version of Blender is it? Even if you just change background color, there will be like a huge wave of confusion after you post the video. Like, what is this? Is this Blender or what? And God forbid, if you change the user interface a little bit, it all goes haywire. So we stopped experimenting with it. The only thing we change is maybe the scale of the user interface. And maybe occasionally we play with a little bit of background color, a different kind, for some reason. Aside from that, we keep it
default.
Yeah.
Speaking of default cube, what's your
default cube?
Must die?
Yeah. What's my stance? Yeah, actually, I think it's nice. It's nice. I had a tutorial of going from cube to, I don't know, I don't remember. I have a sympathy towards the default cube, and seeing how Rachel takes the default cube, it turns it into this wonderful sci-fi droid. We just all need to respect
the default cube. I don't know, I'm not familiar with other apps, but they don't have a default model usually, right? They start from scratch, or maybe ZBrush.
Yeah, just imagine a default teapot in 3ds Max. What would it look like?
You open 3D Max or Maya and they don't have anything. It's just empty?
Exactly.
Empty.
Yeah, it's empty. Would it be better if it started from default teapot?
The thing is, and imagine that even worse, like the default cube in perspective view is actually an improvement. Blender 2.7 used to start like this, like that, like with the I'm showing on the screen. It's a top view of the cube. So the cube was always there, but it was top view, and some people didn't know that this was a 3D software. So in order to improve the user experience, introducing perspective. So that's how
some people may have thought that it's a 2D.
Yeah, we had people sending emails that were like confused, or that they didn't know it was 3D. But actually, that was the wow factor that was supposed to appear. You know, like open Blender, and then this is 2D. What? And then you middle click drag, and then bam, 3D, but it didn't work. So
Surprising review.
surprising reveal. Yes. Okay. So Aidy, what about you? I guess you also use a default because of the teaching, right?
Yeah. Me and Gleb pretty much have the exact same startup file for that reason.
Yeah.
To try and keep things as aligned as possible. But having said that, there are almost always somebody misses something in a tutorial. They'll say, why doesn't that work? And it's like, oh, it's because the Loop Tools add-on isn't enabled, or oh, you need the Node Wrangler add-on enabled, or I mean, there's a few things. Like asking you a question, like who decides what of those add-ons are on automatically, enabled by default? Who decides the default? Is it by a community decision sort of thing in some way?
Everything is community decision, but at some point your community goes in so many directions that you gotta take a decision. For example, the Node Wrangler, I think everybody agrees that it should be on by default. The issue that I personally have, I'm part of the Blender UI team, so I would actually vote against having it by default, because it adds a tab, and it adds a lot of buttons and stuff, like a lot of noise. It used to have like a list of all the nodes on the side, and it was a bit too much. And maybe you only want like 10 features from it. You want the preview, and you want the Control T for adding a mapping node, or the shortcut to add principal VSDF maps and stuff. So you want a handful of things that maybe they should be part of the Blender, like we should move them to Blender itself, built in Blender, and then still leave the Node Wrangler add-on off, but experiment a little bit more. Drop some features that are maybe work in progress, or maybe ideas, and use that to test these new features, to get people like, hey, try enabling the Node Wrangler and test this feature that is experimental. Maybe it's some kind of weird, I don't know, shortcut base, but
it's just to let people know that there are so many other goodies just right there ready to go.
And the thing is with the add-ons, that they have to be maintained. So if that is a big factor to make an add-on enabled by default, it has to be maintained, it has to be stable, it has to not add like tons of shortcuts everywhere that are overriding other shortcuts. There's so many layers, For example, the Q key, that was a very popular key in Blender 2.7 add-ons. Everybody was using the Q key because it was free. Nobody was using it. It was free real estate, but people were, all the add-ons were using it. Next question, what do you think is the most common mistake, neglect that intermediate artists do that prevent them to make their work, to take their work to the next level? What is the most common mistake for intermediate artists? So artists that are no beginners, that already have their work in a good level, but to the next level.
I think if they have a good model, and they want a finished artwork, I would say they should focus on lighting it pretty well, because there's a lot of interesting things you can do with lighting to like make like artworks like stand out and pop, and just bring it to the next level.
So good. So if you have a great model but bad lighting, you're basically like not selling your model really well.
Yeah.
Guys, do you have any input? What is a common mistake?
One single thing that would help, because it's always a combination of different things. Rather, what was the question again?
What do you think is the most common mistake?
Intermediate artists prevent to take their work to the next level. I think it's the matter of like being persistent and like keep doing this thing over and over and over again till you cross this divide of 10,000 hours. So you can master a certain skill, and maybe switching between different kinds of things way too often, and it just echoes what we have been talking about in this episode. So just do one thing. It almost certainly helps when you try to improve in doing a certain thing is to do that thing and focus on it.
Do it again and again and again.
And again and again and again until it's done.
Yeah, because there's like the Pareto's law, isn't there? Like
wisdom here. You know?
It's the 80-20 rule, you know, like
the,
sort of,
the Pareto principle, or how do you call it?
Yeah, like the sort of 20% of the effort generates 80% of the results, and those kinds of things. And I think for me, I tend to, you could sort of say to really push a piece of artwork, you could kind of go, well, when you think it's finished, chances are actually, you know, you might only be 70% of the way there, maybe 80% of the way there. And it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to actually push it to just over the hill. I think to be an outstanding piece, I think can often take a lot of experimentation rather than just necessarily accepting what's there and kind of going, oh, well, it's close enough, you know, which is fine. But, you know, to maybe get that wow factor on something, it would probably be, you know, just push it a slight bit further. You know, when you think you're done, maybe you're actually not really done. Maybe you're halfway, you know, kind of.
And for that kind of thing to be like effective, you need to show your artwork and your work in progress to other people. Essentially, that's the way to go, actually. So like show early, show often. I think that really helps.
Yes, show early,
Twitter.
show often.
I think Twitter is a great place.
Yes, hashtag B3D.
Your stuff. ArtStation, obviously, but ArtStation is more about
portfolio.
Like highly polished portfolio pieces that
it doesn't show the work in progress or the mistakes.
Yeah, so or just show it to someone, even to your friends and relatives, and just ask them.
Next, sorry.
I was just going to say, like, that is essentially what does happen in a professional pipeline of a studio, anyway.
Yeah.
You know, like you wouldn't just go, oh well, look, I've done it, great. You know, you'd you know, I'm sure, you know, someone like Jammer, for example, you know, just iterating and iterating and iterating, you know, just throwing ideas out there. You know, as a concept artist, you know, that's what you're going to be expected to do. But not only that, but once every step along the way, you know, thinking back from when I was working in like game studios, it's like when you think you're done, you're merely just passing it over to the art director, and then they'll give you a whole load of things that needs changing, and then you kind of keep on iterating and iterating until
you get it right.
And I know that if potentially back then when I was on my own, I probably would have stopped when I'd only gotten about 50% there and kind of gone, yeah,
it's good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is kind of a plug, but it's also like in the Blender Cloud, we share the progress, or we also did it actually on YouTube. For example, we had the Caminandes production logs, where we show every day. Here the production logs, weeklies. We will show like the progress of what we did every week and how we would move on. But also, for example, on the cloud, we share every week where the project is, and you can, if you just keep going down the weeks, you're gonna see how bad the first example, like the first rounds of tweaking. For example, here you see Church 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's like lines and lines of like, it is very rough. This is like everything that ever like happened in a project, and even more so, this is actually more terrible and it's really bad. But like Gooseberry Weekly, I think
it's just how it goes, right? It's the process.
Yes, just but this one is even more rough.
Certain things. So until you arrive at something that is decent. Yeah, it's this deliberate kind of iteration that makes it work. And sometimes it helps if you work in a team.
It really helps. In the case of the Gooseberry project, back then we used to share every week on a live stream our weeklies, which is basically showing everything. So you can see the very first animatics, and this is all on YouTube. You don't need any kind of subscription; it's just on YouTube.
I remember watching.
Really? Wasn't it? No. I think it was super boring. I mean, I was there, but you can see like people making like the mistakes and giving feedback to each other. Is like sharing some very, very, very early tests of every aspect of the movie making. I think that's pretty nice to do. Share all the, oh, look at this character that I texture that I've never showed in my life. It never made it, and it will never make it to the final film. But I just want to famous Eek. Look at that. All right, so enough of memory lane. But it's nice. Share your work from the start.
That coffee run's looking really good, by the way. Does a lot of people know about that? I've not seen that much.
No.
Twitter or anything about that.
It's actually no, not other people know about it because I don't know why exactly. But there is a project going on the Blender Cloud. The Blender Studio now we're doing it remote, but it's the coffee run is PVR animation, and it's all with Eevee. We had Andy actually talking in the live stream. It's Eevee cycles, and they're even using the Workbench engine and some grease pencil on top. So it's like just throwing everything in there. Actually, that's the Eevee passes in the viewport and in the render were added because of this project.
Yeah, so it's best of both worlds, and it looks so impressive. I can't wait.
Would be fun to see more. I think it would be nice to make those production videos again. Next feature is what feature? Next question. What feature would you be most exciting to see coming into Blender in the future? So name a feature, feature that it's coming, that you're aware that it's coming and you're excited, and one that it's not coming that you would be aware.
Yeah, it's probably very simple. For me, it's animation nodes, or everything nodes for that matter. That is the most anticipated thing for me, and that's it.
I would say same for me now, I think.
Yeah. And the features that is not coming to Blender, it's hard to tell because Blender is evolving, I guess. So
yes, everything.
It's hard to know what's not coming to Blender.
Yeah.
You know?
Or many things are planned but not really there yet. For example,
nerves. I don't know.
Nerves. Yeah, actually, there was a question related to nerves. So, for example, in this case, Rachel, what is a feature that you're excited that is coming, that you know that's coming? And
I like the asset manager.
Yes.
Like, yeah, that's coming out. And also, I'm really excited for everything nodes as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything nodes. Such an ambitious name. It's like pick a humble name. Everything nodes. And Aidy, what about you?
Yeah, that everything nodes definitely, because I think that's the closest thing to like a game engine. You know, like to maybe do like simple simulations or something of that kind of nature. I was thinking the other day actually about I saw a little simulation about like talking about contagion. Like one little dot was bouncing around the screen and it was showing, what would happen if you had this many dots and if you had this. And as it touched another dot, that one became infected and things like that. And I thought, how would you do that in Blender?
You can't
and I thought,
with Blender right now.
You can't.
Unless you're Jack Luke. And because he made animation nodes and he's working on the Everything Nodes project. And actually here, I made a video last year, about 2 years ago, June 2018. Okay, almost 2 years ago. I made a video when he was working at the studio, working on Everything Nodes /2.8. But he made an example with a very, very rough work in progress prototype in Python, not even in C. Now all of this is possible in C, but he made it in Python, and it were like fireworks. So at the end, it was like at the end of life of a particle, it will like spawn other particles. And something that is not shown here in this video that he did later, it was to trigger some of those with the keyboard. So it was like interaction mode. And he was like triggering little particles with that was awesome. So
is it like real-time mode?
Kind of like the interactive mode that never happened. But it's planned at some point if someone wants to pick it up. So yeah. That
would be pretty wild. And there's little things that I don't know whether is on anyone's radar. Maybe Howard, one of the modeling team guys, Campbell or something. But like little things like when you're in slide, when you slide, double tap G or something to slide some vertices, to then try and snap it to another in alignment with another vertex, for example.
Snap on edge slide.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I get it every week. Like
every week.
Now the request, yeah, or like if it's coming or not. And I didn't know it was so, like lately in the last few weeks, I'm getting it more often. So
I noticed it yesterday or the day before when we were compiling these modeling hell issues and like kind of finalizing everything. I just thought, oh yeah, this is because I tend to just make do and not really the sort of person that would necessarily complain and say, oh, you need to, this needs to be better, or so I'm not amazing at necessarily just thinking about that. I'll just kind of go, oh, this is an opportunity to be clever.
Yeah.
And how you know what I mean? Like, how do I get around it?
It's like having bad undo. It's my opportunity to not make mistakes. Yes.
It's just your procrastination, I guess.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, that sort of stuff. I noticed that people were talking about that destructive extrude again. That's quite an interesting one.
And there is a patch already. It just needs. Actually, we asked Brecht about it, and it's just a matter of time. Developers have to go through those patches and test them and see that the code is good. But so actually we're done with those questions. Sorry.
I also thought of another feature that I'm pretty excited for.
Yes.
The VR that's coming.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, because I know you guys have VR headsets, right?
I don't. You do. I've seen Gleb posting about Half-Life.
Pablo, have you seen Rachel's VR art?
No. Where?
Made in Oculus.
Yeah.
It's like pretty serious. Yeah.
We
thought of actually one of the potential ideas for the educational content was related to VR. So that's deeply intriguing what we'll be able to do with it.
Can we see it online?
It's in Blender officially.
Yeah, I use Oculus Medium. I guess it's Adobe Medium now.
Adobe Medium, yes.
Yeah. And that has a lot of cool features for sculpting out mechs. It's super interesting. Yeah.
Wow. No, I haven't seen it. So let's share it. Let's share it at some point. If you find the link, I'm gonna share it. So here, let's go to more questions, because actually there was just the first question that was asking was 5 parts. Some of the other ones are more like Blender technical related, like so maybe this is not for you. We'll try to find questions for you, for the guests. Some of them, they're ideas for the show, like right-click select review, live tutorial, graphic all, CC cornucopia.
All good ideas. There's a lot of days ahead of us.
There's a lot of days, actually 60 days. In the Netherlands is until June 1st. I want to jump off my window.
In Poland, it's like until 14th of April, but it could be extended,
Yeah, you never know. Questions for the guests. What would you recommend as a Blender alternative to such NURBS modeling techniques as loft through modeling multiple profiles? Loft through modeling profiles, sweep or multiple rails, and patch the network of curves. A lot of NURBS.
Yeah, to some extent you could use the B surfaces add-on to do that sort of stuff. I'm not sure that it's the most stable approach to that sort of NURBS-like modeling operations in Blender right now. And frankly speaking, we don't have like this solid modeling tool set in Blender for that matter. Not like we can do in Moe 3D or Fusion, obviously, but anyway, we can replicate the similar operations using the standard poly modeling tools, and that gives us hope, I guess, because many things, they're just the matter of how you look at things. For example, maybe you don't need a solid modeling application to do that sort of stuff when you can do the same thing with polygons if you know the right workflow. And for that matter, I recommend watching Master Zion's YouTube channel, because he shares a lot of interesting workarounds, and the how do you call it, mesh machine add-on is also a way of substituting NURBS like things with polygons. All these washouts and progressively getting wider bevels. You know what I mean? You can do it with Mesh Machine pretty easily. So I guess that's the answer so far.
There's an add-on for that.
Until we get something better, that is.
Next question. Hi, Pablo and the gang. I was wondering if the guests think it might be useful to add vertex creases so that sharp edges can be more easily avoided when using submodeling. So creasing per vertex.
Well, it sounds interesting. I'm not entirely sure.
It sounds like
creasing
modeling
a single
issue
vertex
from hell.
Yeah.
Actually, like one of those issues that requires some mesh doctor
Like
to cure them.
Yes, mesh doctor, as in also a developer, maybe. And actually, another plug, well, not plug, but it's in the blender.org website, we share an article. Francesco shared an article where we talk about this stuff coming, and then at some point here in the last, there's for a moment here, nice little small text that says that Sergey will also share some insights on Blender development, and he worked on the OpenSubdiv part of things, on the dependency graph. So I think that will also be pretty interesting to see like the completely different side of Blender.
I saw the image now regarding the vertex creases, and I can see how in that example, any amount of control, extra control, and that sort of stuff would be cool.
Yeah. Then the next question is a bug report. Then the other question is, hi Pablo and guests. I wonder if it's possible to add a shorter shortcut to the extrude tools. Like changing the shortcut. That's a feature request. Come on, we have great.
Yeah. But
guests.
I wonder if you agree, it's already pretty short. I mean the E.
What is shorter than E?
I almost cannot imagine anything shorter than that. Maybe if you just if you want even faster workflow, but I don't see such like very pronounced need for that, to be honest. But I could be totally wrong about that.
So some tools for modeling that are still needed: extrude along a path, loft by rail modifiers. I'm not familiar with that. Like extrude along a path, like use curves inside a polygon editing session. So you can make a path and then it will extrude through that.
That actually brings us back to the B surfaces add-on. There was kind of a paradigm that this add-on used and still uses.
So you make a curve and then it will just make a mesh.
Or you alternatively you make a grease pencil stroke and you convert it to curve, and then you probably smooth it out a little bit, relax this curve, space the vertices of the curve evenly, and then you loft across the multiple curves. And we also have how do you call this add-on? Curves to mesh or something like that, which does a similar thing.
Curve to mesh.
Curve to mesh, yes.
But the base surface is actually built in Blender, so you can already try it there.
Yeah, it's one of the built-in add-ons, so you can definitely experiment with it
without getting a new one. Loft by rail modifier. By rail modifier. I don't know that one.
Is it something like the screw modifier?
I'm not familiar. Rachel, maybe? Have you heard of it? Loft by rail modifier?
Loft by rail?
Yeah, loft.
I guess it's also one of those NURBS operations.
Construction history. An edge.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
No, never.
No.
Yeah, implement construction history. It's like retaining the modifier stack.
Yeah.
Like for example, in 3ds Max, it boils down to having something like the editable poly modifier, if I'm correct. So yeah, it looks like that.
Or like the construction history of Maya or something, but that was notoriously, notoriously dodgy anyway. That caused a lot of crashes and things, I think.
We need more crashes, I think, in Blender.
Yep.
Edge groups. So we have vertex groups, face sets, and face maps, but no edge groups. We have edge data though, but we could use some unify it and to extend it more. But there is actually some development planned on the vertex paint, like replace the vertex paint with more like attribute painting. So you can, instead of painting, vertex paint is the same as weight paint, but one paint is weight and one paint is a color, but it's all vertex data. So the idea is like you could also have paint any attribute. If you want to paint density, you want to paint X value that like you're going to use later in the nodes, for example. That is the idea. That's the future. That's some of the plans. So hi Pablo and dear guests. For the hard surface modeling and procedural modeling, I think it would be a good idea to have a bisect modifier and fill holes modifier. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I even have the blend file opened, but because
You think crashed?
what do we use? Hangouts crashed. Sadly, I cannot show it right now. Yeah, but we
Rachel,
can,
maybe?
to some extent, replicate this effect, I mean the bisect in modifiers, by utilizing the mirror modifier on top of the Boolean modifier set into the subtract mode, or difference mode rather. That kind of workaround to simulate bisect in modifiers. Because the mirror modifier has the bisect option, and the Boolean, you can use it, the Boolean cube as a kind of a slicing plane if you follow it with the mirror modifier, that sort of stuff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's okay, I think we okay, I think you're a bit past time, so I don't know if you are if you have to go now. You're free to go, but maybe we can do maybe like
Pablo, we have nowhere to go.
Yes, that's true. I don't know, maybe you were planning to go run a marathon or something. Okay, maybe not. Go to a festival. No.
Yeah, I feel such a decaffeinated shrimp, you know. I want to grab some coffee.
Come on, you must have a coffee. I expect that one thing that you have at home for sure is a coffee machine.
No, actually, I don't have coffee machine, and I hate drinking coffee at home for some reason. I just like.
Okay, no, that's a good thing too.
Much.
If you like coffee and don't like it at home, then it's good because it makes you go out.
Exactly.
All right, so
That's
let's.
a good idea.
Sorry?
That's a good idea.
To force yourself. Actually, I brought the coffee machine next to my desk, which is a very bad idea. I should have not done it, but I did it anyway. So okay, let's. I brought it really from the kitchen to have it closer. Bad idea.
Next. So smart.
No, bad idea. Like the top 10 bad ideas, because I get to move less, and that's bad. All right, so let's do 3 more questions because it's already late. If you are okay with that.
Yeah, we're fantastic.
Okay, some that are already maybe more related to like what you do. For example, this is more like an opinion. Is how will modeling sculpting work with everything in nodes? I've been picturing it in my head as Blender generating nodes for each time a brush or tool is used, which could be manipulated after. How are you?
It's again this editable poly modifier, as if.
Any of you are familiar with the like procedural modeling, or have you used like Houdini or other softwares?
Not very much. I mean, I've seen some. There's certain amounts of things that I've seen within Unreal Engine, you know, in the construction graph, that you can sort of set up a new model that way. That's with nodes as well, but not quite in the same way, I don't think. But I mean, with some of the things I always wanted to do in Blender was to do things like create a procedural material or procedural texture using all the nodes, and then say channel that into the displace modifier, so you can kind of see it in the viewport. You know, you don't need to have it as you don't have to be in cycles to render it, the displacement like that. You know, you could just see it, the way that the Blender, the displace modifier already works, you know, that like how you can create textures and you can do some basic stuff like that. But to take those nodes and be able to do something a little bit more interesting with them like that, or to be able to do things maybe just at the beveled edge, you're only kind of wanting to affect what happened. You only want this operation to work on the beveled edges, or I kind of assume there could be some sort of logical flow of, if this criteria is fit, then you can then do this modeling action to it, which would mean, if a vertex was so far away from the edge, it means that it wouldn't get this particular treatment.
Yeah, that brings us to generative modeling.
Like a more intelligent way of doing clamp overlap and things like that. I guess that's kind of what I'm trying to say, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely a way to go. And someone mentions in the comments that that's what Houdini does. It adds a node once you perform modeling operation. So it can be done this way.
That's how. So we know how, but not to copy. Because otherwise, people are saying copy and stuff. I like the approach that Pablo Vazquez said the other day, that he actually likes to watch people working on other on Blender or on other softwares, and then that's how he gets the inspiration mainly. But just by looking at people, not looking at the software, but looking at the people, because maybe that software is not the best way of doing things. So, but you see people running into a mistake, or there is I'm very surprised no one's named the Fluent add-on in this stream. I don't know that add-on.
Yeah, actually, I haven't heard about it before.
No, Fluent add-on.
Fluent? Is that for hard surface or for liquid?
Fluent, stressless modeling tool in the Blender market. For only $20, you can get a.
Yeah, I think we should really check it out.
Is it that add-on that has? I think it might be Fluent Pro that it has like wire.
Yes,
like a really cool wire system. Oh,
great.
I was just about to buy that because I really liked the wire.
Or place cables in just 2 clicks, so you can connect 2 places and it makes a cable.
Yeah, and the plates, that looked really cool.
Yes, looks like a time saver. Edit cut with a grid, with the snapping. Yeah, looks pretty good. I've never heard of it. You see, like, this is the thing I'm talking about. Like, the community is so big that there is like these tools that people spend like a year working on and super polished and stuff. I never heard of it. So nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think there's like we've mentioned before, there's Mesh Machine, there's Hard Ops, Box Cutter. They're pretty well known ones, I'd say. The Speed Flow.
Speed Flow, yes.
The Ice tools once again.
Yeah.
I use a bunch of random add-ons as well. Like I use the Grove, which makes trees. So I make trees sometimes, and then I use. I bought an add-on that's called Bee Painter for painting.
Yes, with layers and stuff.
Yeah, I don't use it that much, but I really like the idea of it. So.
Do you use Grasswald for grass?
No.
Yeah, but it's also pretty interesting. And this new Scatter add-on.
Oh yeah, the Scatter add-on.
The Object Scatter, the one that comes with Blender by Jack, or the other.
Almost, but the improved version, I guess.
There is another Scatter add-on. Yeah.
Check it out. It's just Scatter, I think.
Okay. Next question: do you usually work with radial symmetry? Radial symmetry, I guess that's for sculpting. It's a little complicated to use.
I don't think I've ever used radial symmetry.
Yeah, we used it a bunch of times. I think, it's pretty trivial with sculpting and not so trivial with modeling. And we kind of, it's a rare opportunity, I think, in our workflow to implement radial symmetry. We use most often, I guess, we use X symmetry just to
X or Y or Y or Z.
One part of the mesh to the other side, and that's it.
Which in the latest Blender you can actually do symmetry in other axes.
Very cool.
Next question, and the last question. Let's close with this one. It's for Rachel, actually, but maybe we can extend it to all of you. So when you started modeling, what did you do, study/practice, to get as good as you are right now?
I don't know. I just use Blender like a ton. Like almost as soon as I started using Blender, I was like using it 8 hours a day pretty much, which is crazy.
Is Blender the first software you used, or?
Yes, yeah. I learned Blender. Yeah, very first software.
Nice.
Yeah, I was a 2D artist, and I was like, oh, this 3D stuff wouldn't be that hard to get into, being a 2D artist, and yeah, so I just practiced a lot. I really loved it. Yeah.
Wow. So so just practice basically. So study and practice, and I guess the 2D foundation also adds a lot, to like get things right and talk about detail and composition and general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2D helps with designing, but yeah, that's about it.
You guys, what do you do at the beginning to get as good as you are?
God damn it. Yeah, it's about practice, I guess. So for both Aidy and me, it's about, I don't know, more than, I guess, 10 years of 3D.
Was there like a turning point that you
Maya? And the turning point was when I was fired. Yeah. I thought that it would be a nice opportunity to learn something new and to start fresh and to maybe start posting stuff online. And and then I tried Blender, not for the first time entirely. I was experimenting a little bit with it. Yeah, but I seriously considered it to make a switch to Blender. Yeah, when I was fired. So that was kind of a thing that pushed me over the cliff.
In a good way, or?
And I'm grateful since then.
In a cliff full of glitches.
Yeah.
Aidy.
Yeah, I ended up using it in work a lot because we were using Maya back then, and so they didn't have the modifier stack. So it was really, really useful to be able to keep that non-destructive idea, to be able to tweak the bevel on the fly or using weight.
You should have tried 3ds Max then.
Well, yeah, but we actually learned on 3ds Max, but that was how I got into 3D really. But in the studio they didn't have 3ds Max licenses for you to use. So I couldn't. We couldn't. They had 1 or 2 licenses, and they were already being used by the concept artist and somebody else, I think it was. And so, if you were going to be using another piece of software, it was completely fine to use Blender because there was no licensing issues and things like that. So that's why I ended up starting to use it. But just because there was a bunch of things you could do with it, like solidify modifier and other things that I was used to seeing in 3ds Max because I started learning on that. I was like looking for those tools, and maybe Maya didn't have it, or it was not some obscure script.
So Maya didn't have modifier stack?
No, it has the construction history. Yeah. Wow. So and then just watching tons and tons of tutorials. Which even though back then there wasn't that many tutorials out, there was still enough to keep you going.
Yeah.
So and it's always been the same. It's always been like that. So so yeah, just watching a lot of that and then testing. And I mean, like I say, having a job where you're able to be doing that 40, 50, 60 hours a week of just using those things, trying it when you get home, or just trying anything really. That was the main thing. It wasn't just necessarily using Blender only. It was getting into ZBrush at the time and
rid of everything.
But yeah, and just seeing how they all related and connected, and how that does that a bit better, that does that a little bit better than that, and sort of trying to figure out ways around it. And so yeah, that's one of the best ways to do it, is really just having I tell you, one of the best ways to get good at it is having somebody else come in and say, I need you to do this thing for me.
Yeah.
Because it's just completely takes you out of your comfort zone. So you'll be like, right, okay, yeah, I'm used to doing, I'm not really very good at characters, or there'll be something you're always shying away from. and then somebody else might come along and needs you're the only 3D artist I know, you've got to help me on this project. And you're like, right, okay, well, I guess I could do some freelance or something. Or, maybe it's just a free gig at that time. But anyway, it's just for fun, just to learn. Then it's at that point, you end up just having to figure it out. So
yeah,
I would endorse just figuring it out.
Trying
but
things.
Otherwise, tutorials, no plugin, not trying to sell it, but just tutorials are really helpful, whether it be, Grant Abbott or CG Matter or any of those guys, Curtis Holt, everybody doing their thing.
Yeah. Well, you see, I know none of them. I have to go actually.
Well
Well, I know
said,
CG
well.
Matter. Actually met him in the last year at CRAF. So let's. I think it's been a great show. I think we can wrap it up. It's already an hour 20 minutes long. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
Yeah,
No,
apologies.
It's like a film. Like what?
Cool.
Yeah. Think was it fine? Cool. So I what happened?
Oh God, what is this noise?
Something happened.
Who's that?
It's not me. I think Aidy.
Maybe it's
Really?
me. Maybe
I
it's
think
me.
my chair creaked, and I think I can replicate it again if you really like. I could try and lean into the chair and do that one.
So you have a T-Rex at home, like some raptor.
Glitches from hell, everybody.
Wow. All right. So here's your in the description also is a social media to follow Aidy Burrows 3D on Twitter, Gleb_Alexandrov on Twitter as well, and art from Rachel. And there you can link to the art station, the art stuff. But I think the Blender community is more of a Twitter based, I think, right? It's,
Awesome.
like if most of the things happen on Twitter. I don't know why. Why Twitter? Why is it?
I like Twitter.
Thank you so much, Pablo.
No, please. Thank you
You're a
for.
great DJ. We enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, was it fun? We can do it more often. I mean, if I'm gonna keep doing this until June,
Anytime you want.
I'm gonna need some extra hands here too.
Of course.
But maybe we can do some more hands-on. Actually, some people in the chat were saying like, "Hey, are they going to model something live?" How do you feel about that? All three of you?
Yeah, definitely. That's a
You
good
feel under
idea.
pressure?
In VR.
Yeah.
In
In
VR.
VR.
That would be
In
fun. VR. Yeah.
That would be really fun.
And then I'm gonna be asking questions. I have no idea. How
Ooh,
that works.
collaborative 3D modeling session. That would be nice.
Wow.
Actually, we need to think about it.
Yeah. How would this
Once the Open XR get implemented in Blender,
Actually, it's already there. Just
and
saying.
once it supports like all the headsets we have.
All the headset, but that is, that's not up to Blender. That is the OpenXR library, which is the open source driver. So it's not really even up to them. It's up to the company making your headset that needs to like say, hey, let's support some open source. Like supporting OpenXR is the same people that make OpenGL and OpenCL and open stuff. So yeah. So thank you again for staying until the end, for joining in this experiment that I call Blender every day. I'm gonna tomorrow actually I got some guests, I got some developers guests. So all the questions, sorry for all the questions that I couldn't answer that were more like Blender technical related. I know there were some very interesting ones, some even related to my modeling, but like it was more about like the artistic side of things and how people use Blender every day. So I tried to keep it in that regard. So do you stay up to date with the Blender changes? How often do you update your Blender? Do you stay on the safe side?
Yeah, we on the one hand we update pretty often just to test these new amazing features. On the other hand, once we are in the recording mode, it's another story.
You gotta stick with one.
I have an update manager to get the most experimental builds, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so you live on the edge.
I do have the stable version that I do work on, but I like to do the experimental.
Nice. All right, cool. Let's wrap it up. It's already way too long. Let's say goodbye for this one.
Yeah, goodbye. Thank you, everyone.
goodbye.
Thank you for your comments in the YouTube chat and on the Blender today. Thank you so much.
It's nice to.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thank you,
Goodbye, everyone.
Let's
Thank
say
you.
goodbye
Stay
to
safe.
you, and I'm gonna say
Yeah.
goodbye to the community.
Hey, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, community, how was it? Did you have fun with this? It was a bit longer than usual, but I think it's part of the making it a bit more chilled, a bit more relaxed, a bit more like, let's pass the time here while we're together. I was following the chat, so some people were saying like, hey, Pablo, we are. I was following the chat. I was just trying to keep also connection with the guests. There were some saying even like, hey, Gleb is more up to date than Pablo in some, but that's regarding add-ons. I know nothing about add-ons really. I am not an add-on person, so I'm the worst person to talk about the add-on. I don't use add-ons. I use a Node Wrangler, and that's pretty much it. But they're a major pillar of the Blender community. So what about having a add-on special at some point? I have some VFX special planned. I have a Node special and developer special for tomorrow again, but more like answering Q&A, just answering questions. But maybe we could have a Python special. Let's go through the comments that you left on the previous episode, and also you can leave them in this video for specials that you have in mind. For motion graphics, a lot of people were saying motion graphics. Who would be a good guest for talking about motion graphics in general, like animation node stuff? Let me know. As you may have seen, I'm a bit out of the loop sometimes. It's hard to keep up. The community is huge. So, all right, let's make it again tomorrow. Same place, same time. If you're okay. I think we're getting somewhere with these daily live streams. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's been a pleasure. Let's see each other again tomorrow. Same place, same time for Blender Today / Everyday. Bye-bye.